Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Hurwitz, and I work here at CCSU for the Institute for Municipal and Regional Policy, or the IMRP, which is easier to say. Our department works on several grant or contract-funded projects that mostly have to do with criminal justice reform. The project that I work on primarily is the Children with Incarcerated Parents, or CIP initiative. For nearly a decade, the CIP initiative has been working to find out what Connecticut can do to better support this population. Our work is a combination of research, direct services through providers, and information sharing. We recently presented at the International Coalition for Children with Incarcerated Parents conference in New Zealand. And it was very inspiring to learn about work being done around the world on such a unique topic. Community engagement is very important at CCSU, and our partnership with the university system, especially CCSU, is an integral part of our work. Our research and our outreach capabilities, as well as our capacity to pilot new and creative programs, is greatly enhanced by the connections we are able to make between university and community partners. We work with students in various disciplines and positions, such as interns, student workers, volunteers, through course projects. And we've heard from both students and faculty partners about how the work they do with the CIP initiative impacts them. And our overall impression and belief is that when the right faculty and the right students are matched with the right projects, mutual benefit can be attained. So rather than speak about this from my somewhat outside perspective, the rest of the presentation you'll be hearing from faculty and students directly that we are working with this year and hopefully beyond, except for the students that are graduating this year, sadly. Okay, so now, ready?
You might please. Okay. Thank you, Hannah.
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone, and I'm just going to take a thread from what Hannah was saying about community engagement and talk a little bit about our Youth Voice project, which has been running for the past couple of years. My name is Rati Kumar, and I'm in the communication department. And this is a project that we had started in 2014. We got funding for it through the CIP initiative that Hannah was speaking about. And what I'll do is provide just a quick overview of the project, and then also have some of our student workers who are working on the project speak about their experience. And like I said, a quick overview of this is basically this project, the Youth Voice project, is focusing on the idea of a media campaign. And this, again, coming from a communication background, this idea of a media campaign which does two things. One is combat stigma associated with being the child of an incarcerated parent, and two is making sure that if there are any mental health resources that we can make available to some of these children, and then if they at least have the knowledge to be able to use these resources, that would be a win for us, right? So those are really the two major outcomes that we started off on this project aiming to achieve. So, of course, in terms of stigma reduction, children with incarcerated parents, it has been noted, interestingly, and this is fairly recent, this was in 2007, it has been noted that children with incarcerated parents suffer from a couple of adverse childhood experience issues, right? So the CDC describes adverse childhood experience as some sort of traumatic event. Some of the common ones that we know about are divorce, right? So people often hear about divorce or death in the family. Those can be some, but these adverse childhood experience, this has been added. The incarceration of a parent and the parent missing in the household because of it has been added to that list of adverse childhood experiences which induce trauma in a child's life. So based on this, we came up with the idea of providing mental health resources and trying to reduce stigmatization of CIPs. The methodology is based, first off, I must say the methodology is based on a limited amount of resources that we have so far. And so we are doing 30 interviews with children with incarcerated parents, and then we are also doing focus groups and surveys with some of the non-CIP population. So essentially finding out how the children who are stigmatized against experience it, and also the people who are stigmatizing them, how do they affect the experience that these children have. So those are a couple of things we are trying to get data for. The underlying approach for this is based very much on the idea of community engagement that Hannah was talking about as well. This idea that the community is the expert and not the traditional expert as the expert. And what do I mean when I say the traditional expert? All of us who have either doctor or some sort of degree associated with our names, where very often we come in thinking, hey, we will do this top-down intervention. This is what a lot of research has shown. This is what we do. And then surprise, surprise, some of it does not really work how we anticipated. And based on the culture-centered approach, we see the community as the expert, and that's why this need to engage in dialogue with the community. And that's really the focus of the Youth Voice project. Sometimes, and this is where a lot of our student workers come in, right? Sometimes this is not the most clean-cut, not the most quantitative work that people can do, and there are a lot of personal factors that get involved in this kind of research. So whether you're doing interviews, and whether I am a male student interviewing a female child of an incarcerated parent, what is the age dynamic, what are the differences there, and so on. What is the privilege that I carry with me when I go in to do these interviews? The fact that I have an education, and a lot of these kids, if I am a student at Central and I have an education, and a lot of these children will not have a chance to have an education, there is a power dynamic associated with that as well. So that is where a lot of it becomes very relevant what our students' experiences on this project. What does community engagement mean? For us, particularly in the project, like we talked about, this idea of trust building and dialogue. Again, it's interesting that trust building, we don't have to have research which backs this up, right? We know trust building with any one person takes a long period of time. So I cannot go in for 3 days and say, hi, I have a certain amount of trust. Now talk to me, tell me about your worst day that you ever had, right? That doesn't really work. It takes a little bit of time. And again, that's when we have our students involved. Very often, even though sometimes we have students that might stay with us for 6 months, sometimes students who stay with us for a year, the point is to have our CCSU presence at a lot of these organizations constantly, so they know that we keep coming back, we are building a relationship with them, and that is really central to the culture-centered approach. The university setting can sometimes present certain challenges, including for faculty members, right? We have our deadlines, we have our timelines, our students have a certain number of hours that they're required to meet, so we work within these constraints of reality, right? These are the constraints of reality, the time, money, effort that we can give to something, and also the fact that this is based in very long-term dialogue with the community. So that is a constant battle that I'm sure some of our students experience as well, that hopefully they will speak to. Some of the rewards that we hope, long-term rewards, are policy changes, maybe get more attention to these issues at hand as well. Some outcomes, and I have talked about this a little bit before, so I'm not going to go into these in a more in-depth fashion, but this idea that we are trying to get people to change their knowledge about children with incarcerated parents, their attitude, and of course their behavior, to change stigmatizing behavior. So knowledge, attitude, behavior change would be the ideal outcome we would hope for. And in terms of student engagement outcomes, and I can only speak to this as an outsider because I am not a student working on the project, so I don't really know about it. But the hope is that it provides them some sort of opportunity for to see how stuff that they do in the classroom can actually apply to what they are doing out in the field, and it's not just theoretical work. And I know in the fall I'm also teaching a health communication class where we will be taking them on field trips to work on the project as well. So that gives them some connection between theory and practice that we're constantly talking about. And once that happens, hopefully that can then give them lessons that they take with them into their professional life as well, as they graduate from being students to being professionals in their area of choice. Things that students have done on the project so far. Of course, they have helped us with data gathering, they have helped us with recruitment, and they have also helped us, most importantly, with that trust building aspect, right? Though we still don't have as many students or as many hours as we like, we haven't been able to put those in yet, but we still have a fair number of students that go in, and people will hopefully get used to seeing those faces at these organizations. Those children will hopefully get used to seeing them around and help with that trust building. And in terms of student engagement, I will again preface this quickly by saying that I can only speak to this as an outsider, but we as instructors, educators, researchers hope that we can provide a service learning opportunity, right? So while you are learning, you also do some sort of service, and that I know particularly to students who are on a project can be important because that is there. So if social justice is their area of interest, that is something that they might personally be passionate about as well, and it's not just a few hours on an internship or a credit that they need for a classroom. Hopefully it does add to their portfolio, but my personal hope for it is they think more about things critically, because that is what a college education and experience is about. And so having said that, I will hand over our presentation to our student workers who have been on the project.
Alright. Hello everyone, my name is Xavier Jenkins. I'm set to graduate in the spring of 17. Personally, I would just like to start by saying this was a great opportunity to be something to be a part of, and like my other members of my team previously stated, I'm going to talk about my experience personally that I had during my time. And I want to start off by saying that basically what I do is I help, like Radhi explained, recruiting, interviewing, stuff like that. I'm basically a student researcher with many of other responsibilities as far as help getting in contact with other organizations to help set up these interviews, to help building that trust like Radhi talked about, and which I also very see that trust being me coming to the project. I see that it helps the kids definitely. Personally, I play sports, so that's also a big thing that helps them to connect that not maybe some of Radhi or other people can connect to. Personally, it's helped me growing as a student because I'm not very a big talker or really like the ones that get out there. So this community engagement has really helped me personally really get out there, because we're all gonna get old and we all need to get into that real world, and you're gonna have to talk to people if you want to be successful. So that's definitely something that helps me grow personally. As far as professionally, I think community engagement, when you're getting involved in community engagement and just not in the classroom, it helps you enhance other skills that classroom can't exactly enhance. You really get a different appreciation for it because you're actually doing what you're talking about. You're just not hearing a professor, somebody speak about it, which is, I feel, is big as well. As far as the project and some of the challenges, rewards, I would probably say that some of the challenges, like the common one would be you don't expect these kids to sit there and speak about their personal thing that happened to them, this tragedy that happened in their life. So that's definitely a challenge from in the actual work. Personally, in my personal life, it's a challenge because, like Radhi had mentioned, you got to balance the time of reality and the internship. But I think definitely, like I said, getting information out of kids is definitely the biggest challenge. But in the same token, that challenge is also the biggest reward, because when you get that out of the kids, it's also a big reward, and you feel that connection and things of that. You know, like you feel like you're actually making a difference and helping in that nature. And with that being said, I think I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Matt so he can speak about his experience a little bit.
Thank you, Xavier. Good morning. My name is Matthew Papapietro. I'm a student here at CCSU. I'm in the pre-social work major, and as part of, I became part of the Youth Voices Project in January at the beginning of the semester. And for a class this semester, along with in-class work and other assignments, there's a 70-hour volunteer placement as a requirement of that class. And this particular one was it was a student choice, so we were allowed as students to go out to the community and find an organization that we would like to work with ideally. And over the past 6 months to a year, I kind of been my interest in, I first learned about children of incarcerated parents through a previous internship at another institution. So when I learned about it, over the past 6 months to a year, my interest has grown. And through my research, my interest in research, I found out about the Connecticut CIP initiative, and then I found out about the IMRP after I enrolled at Central. So when I kind of put that connection together, and now I'm a student at Central, and this initiative is happening at Central, and then when I took the class in January, the opportunity, it was almost like a perfect match, and I was able to go, and interview with Hannah, and it was more, I didn't feel like an intern when I was being interviewed. It was more like, kind of being accepted as a colleague into a project that, I was passionate about, and the other members of the team were passionate about. So, my role so far has been, it's only been a few months, but I've been able to participate in one-on-one interviews, with children of incarcerated parents. There was, going to, and then the recruitment part is going into the Boys and Girls Club and engaging with, a group of teenage girls to, see if there was anybody, at the Boys and Girls Club who may be going through this and may be able to offer some input. So that whole experience actually with the Boys and Girls Club was that was some personal growth for me, because I remember that specific day I was going and I was thinking, okay, my role as a volunteer, I'll probably just sit and watch and learn and see what was happening. But when it actually went, when we actually met with the girls, I was a co-facilitator. So I was put into it and kind of had to step right out beyond my, my comfort zone and, that little bit of discomfort. But, that was for me, it was a good period of personal growth, because now, okay, that's one more thing. Before that, I've talked with prisoners before. I've talked with, different types of populations, and not really been as nervous as I was speaking with, teenage girls, which is a population that I don't have a lot of contact with. So that was a really good experience for me. And, this experience and how it relates to school is having the placement being parallel to a class. There's assignments that are associated with it, so it allows me to think about the experience that I had with the placement, and then constructively think about it and do an assignment, and then relate that information to the professor or to my classmates. And I remember the night before I had a presentation, I was able to call somebody, at IMRP and ask them a question that was going to help me in my presentation the next day. So there's really kind of a direct access from the experience, and to share it right with my classmates. So, that's a great way, and I see that happening in my future as a social work student, because by the time I receive my degree, I'll have about 700 hours of community engagement and of field work. So if I'm able to kind of use all that and put it back into the classroom, and then take what I get out of the classroom back into my placements, that's the big part of me about being a student, being in the community as a student, working with organizations. So it's exciting to me. One point I wanted to make while I was here was that fact of being accepted as a colleague, and not necessarily seen as a student when we're engaged in the practice. It's, even from, working with Dr. Kumar and the interview with Hannah, there's professional responsibilities that come with it. Even though I am a student, when we're working, it's on a professional level, and the input that I have is respected and all that. So I think that's important, for students to have that feeling. For me, it's important, and it makes me feel, all right, I'm part of something here, and it's important, and it's not just academic. It's professional, and it's going to help me move into the future. So, and as a student, the opportunity to establish professional foundation. As I said, I did an internship at another institution in Connecticut, and that was, developing contacts there and professional relationships there kind of led me into being interested in the CIP population, and that led me to here. And so this is only my second placement or internship now, but I know that I'm going to have many in the future. So if it kind of goes in that trend, you know, my professional networking and establishing professional relationships and having professional contacts and getting cards, you know, even as a student, by the time I grab my degree, I'm already going to have a network that's in place because of these experiences out in the community. So for me, it's really exciting because I have so much more ahead of me, and I've already learned so much already. So, you know, it's exciting because this project is a passion of mine, as it is with the other team members, and it's almost, you know, there's so much more to happen from it. It's still evolving, which is something even after my 70-hour commitment is over, am I just going to stop being interested in it? I doubt that that'll happen. I doubt that once I meet my academic obligation that my professional interest will stop. So so that's the influence that it'll have on, you know, me professionally in the future. And, you know, being a part of this project, I mean, it's exposing me to, you know, research methods that, you know, I may have heard about, you know, but using the words like quantitative and qualitative research was not something that I was doing before. But now I can use the words, I understand what they mean, I understand how it's done, and there's still a lot more for me to learn. So, you know, being involved directly with something that is still kind of young and growing, it excites me. So there was what the challenges, you know, I think the challenges, I'm not sure if I can articulate any of the challenges yet. You know, it's been, you know, only a couple, 2-3 months. I think the challenge is to just, you know, meet my hourly obligations, but the rewards are great because, I mean, just because I'm learning something that I'm so passionate about and it's so close, there's such a reward to have access to people who are involved and are seeking social change and things like that. And for me, that's the reward. So I thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm not sure who is next.
Yeah, taking all the time now. Hi, my name is Naib. I'm majoring in computer information technology. I've been involved with the CIP initiative for over a year as a web developer. I helped them create a new site by incorporating, you know, latest trends in technology. As I was creating the site, I found myself utilizing a lot of the classroom knowledge and experience that I gained over the years as a student, like doing research, reading through literatures about web interface designing, looking at the back end of the website into different programming language to see what we need, what we don't need, or what we can improve upon. I also had an opportunity to collaborate with other student workers, graphic designer, professor, and I also trained the staff members of the CIP initiative, teaching them how to maintain the site and how to update them. Overall, I think I'm very excited to be involved with the CIP initiative, not only because I gained valuable experience, but also because of the work that they do with the CIP initiative. Coming into this project, I kind of knew about the problem with incarceration, but I never realized the impact it had on children. And I think I'm very fortunate to be able to combine my passion for web development to bring attention to this issue that people often really don't think about much. I am graduating this May, and as I continue to the next phase of my life, I hope to continue this kind of work where I can combine IT or technology to bring attention to the issue and kind of make a positive change into the community. I don't know if you want to take a look at the site or anything, but if you want. Yeah. So this is the site. Now this is the homepage. So on our homepage, you'll see on the top we have the logo of the CIP initiative, and then of course the navigation bar. I think that, so we currently have a total of 4 sliders. Each sliders have different information on them. Initially, this is going to be our like the main slide. Whenever the user logs in, this is what they're going to see. So video and kind of a little text about what we're about. I guess the main focus of this website is we kind of have 2 different audiences we're trying to engage with, children and then adults. With the children page, there's a lot of graphics, a lot of pictures, because it needs to be engaging in order to hold their attention. And I'll just click on one of them. So for example, courthouse, right? You click there, you see a little description on the top, and then it will give you a graphic, kind of a look at the inside of the courtroom. And if you click on it, it will show you the definition on the left-hand side. And then if you want to go back to the main page of the children page, you just click on that, and then it will take you back to the main page. And then another page is the adult site, which is not as same as a children's site. It's more text-based, so it's because it's providing information. So here we have how to prepare for sentencing. So if you click there, you'll find questions that they might have. Now, this is kind of tricky because we have a lot of questions, and basically when I first started, I saw that question wasn't categorized. They were just all displayed there. So what I did was just categorize them, because you want to present the information in a condensed manner, because if there's a lot of information right off the bat, the user will get kind of discouraged and they'll just lose the information. So let's say they have questions about how to prepare. So click there, and then you'll have like all the questions listed. And then you click there for further clarification, and there's and also you have a media site, because we have a lot of videos also. Here's the stories about incarceration. We have a lot of videos here. And then also there's another. This is the general video page.
Oh, there's all that.
Yeah. And also, I think another important, it's publication. So it's not only for adults and children, it's also for faculty members, researchers, so they can come in and look through research that's been done to get more insight. There's all the research. And then I guess also I forgot to mention, so if you, let's say, register for children and maybe you're not finding the questions that are in here, and you want to look through articles, we have that too. So articles about other issues, I guess. I think that's about it. I don't want to go over my time, so thank you.
Oh, you got it.
Thank you. Thank you, Nayab. It was a very nice transition to what I'm going to talk about. I'm Olga Petkova. I'm a professor of management information systems 17 years now at this university, and maybe about 30 years I'm a professor teaching management information systems. And for me, it is quite unusual to be presenting at a conference which is related to community engagement and children of incarcerated parents, because I am a professor of technology. So usually technology students don't get involved with such matters. So I have been teaching for many years. For us in technology, experiential learning is a big thing. And yes, we ask the students to get involved with experiential learning by sending them to the big corporations, Travelers, Aetna, Cigna. Even when they're students, they're already getting money and they get involved. However, this is one kind of learning that is making them totally unaware of what is happening in the society. So in my teaching, I tried in all these years to get the students involved with service learning. And again, service learning can be different varieties. We did have service learning with small businesses, and we were successful or unsuccessful on different projects. Then we got involved with non-profit organizations, and again, we had different levels of success. So, at one stage of my teaching, I started thinking, what can I do in order to streamline the work of my class, to organize it in such a way that to make sure that I have a successful project. So I explored a couple of different frameworks and models for community engagement, starting with the very popular Kolb's learning model, Taylor's learning model, just to understand, to try to make sure that because I'm a professor of management information systems, systematic thinking is the rule for me. So I tried to find out a framework that is going to help me and my students and our prospective community partners really to have such a project and to have such experiences for the students that are going to be successful. So eventually, Michigan Journal of Community Service Learning Service, is one of the, actually it is the top, it is the leader in community engagement. So I found there a framework which is called IPERS framework, IPERS model, which has several steps. So what I'm going to talk about now in this short talk is I will talk about our project, Children with Incarcerated Parents, and how we applied this framework to our project and made it really success. So, as I said, I had different struggles with finding projects. Eventually, a couple of years ago, I had the big fortune to meet Hannah Hurwitz, who was at that time she was leader of the Community Central, yes, Community Central. And she had wonderful connections with all non-profit organizations and different people in New Britain who really needed help. So we got involved with New Britain Youth League, New Britain Art Network. So we had variety of nice projects. But then Hannah suggested that we get involved with the initiative to end homelessness of the mayor of New Britain. And this was the first real societal problem that my students faced. Usually in our discipline we have students that are, you can say, technocrats, and you just now proved that you didn't know that such problems existed before, you were never involved with this. It is the same for my students. So they just study databases, web design, etc., but they don't know about community. So in the first problem, the initiative to end homelessness, they really had to meet homeless people, they really had to learn about homelessness, and they were surprised to find out that, yes, it is between us. Then we moved to we had another project, Re-Entry to Life Initiative. This is for ex-offenders. So, web page to create opportunity for ex-offenders to find, ex-offenders to find job, information, and support. And we did have two projects that are related to the incarcerated children with incarcerated parents. The one is for the Institute, and the other was even more interesting because it was international project. It was project for the International Coalition of Children with Incarcerated Parents. And there we worked with partners from England, from Uganda, and it was a nice project. But I want to talk now a little bit more in detail about the different phases and how exactly this project expands throughout the semester. So every semester starts the previous semester, practically. If you want to have a successful project, you have to start thinking about what the students will be doing in fall now. Now it's a little bit late even, so we have the phase of investigation. We identified community need, we explore potential community partnerships, and how exactly, because don't forget we are still professors, we think how exactly this fits with our course objectives. Because we have course objectives and we have to meet the course objectives. So our partner in this sense is the Institute for Municipal and Regional Policy, and they are wonderful because they really have a wealth of ideas on projects, especially Hannah. At the same time, we're also very lucky that we have the Office of Community Engagement on campus, Nobody mentioned at this talk that we are Carnegie Foundation classified community engaged campus. Twice already our campus, and there are only 28 campuses nationwide that are considered to be community engaged campuses, and our campus is one of those. So we have the Office of Community Engagement, and we also have Community Engagement Committee at the Faculty Center that are providing a lot of support. And also, as I decided, it is more interesting for the students, instead of working with small businesses. It is good to work with small businesses, but if we think about more pronounced societal problems, it is going to make them even more interested. So the second step is preparation. So we start discussing with Hannah, long discussions, how this is going to happen and when she's coming to the class, identification of the expectations. From the very first day, the students are informed that yes, the class that I'm talking about, it is course in project management. It is called Project Management for Business. It is not web development. They are not supposed to even know about web development. I have quite a few students that didn't take a course in web development. But it is project management. Organize your work, plan your work. So they are told from the very beginning of the semester that contrary to other courses that you have done, we are not going to open the book and work on a case from the book, but we are going to work with this community. And they are excited about this. Building of expectations and excitement about the project in the class. Then I create student teams, which is a very complicated process. Maybe you have heard of Myers-Briggs. So the students have to go through Myers-Briggs and identify like mastermind, visionary, champion, performer in each one of the teams. So I put in each one of the teams different representatives of these different social styles. At the same time, I'm looking also at their technical experience and business experience. And finally, secretly from the students, I'm also looking at their GPA. Because I don't want to have only A's in one team and only C's in another team, so I split them kind of evenly. They don't know about this, and you don't tell my students, please. But formation of the teams. And then we set up a kickoff meeting. We are in the stage of preparation. And then we get engaged. So we start working on the project. We do have a kickoff meeting with the client. We start learning about the needs. We try to clearly write the requirements, because for us it is very important to understand the requirements of the client. So we do a lot of activities. And to execute the project, throughout the execution of the project, we have to do a lot of documentation for the project management, because don't forget, the final goal of this course, it is project management. But at the same time, they have to investigate the topic. They have to do research on children with incarcerated parents. They have to analyze different websites of other organizations that are servicing children with incarcerated parents. They have to critique the websites. Then they have to do research on web hosting. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention about the whole structure of this project for my students is that we have 6 teams, usually per class. In each one of these 6 teams, we have 5 or 4 students. And these 6 teams are competing. So they are working, all of them, on the project, and they are developing the prototype of the website. But when I say prototype, it is functioning prototype. So they have to find a free hosting. They have to upload their design to the free hosting. They have to populate it with information that is important. So then they have to even document the site in a sense that when Nair comes next year and he starts working on developing of the website for the institute, he can look at the previous things that the students have done, and he can look at some of the features and options that they have designed, and he can choose some of them. And finally, we have a presentation and demo to the client. So we are done with the execution. And now we have come to the stage of reflection and connection. What we do in this reflection and connection. So the students competed. They need to know which team have done the best job. And usually with Hannah and Eileen, and if we have other customers, they say, okay, this was the best project. So we tell them, I reward them. they're getting better grades. But even the demo, the demonstration, and the presentation, which is a week before the final exams, it's kind of celebration. So I bring some food, so it looks nice. So the project is used. Lessons learned is very important thing also. So I ask them to write lessons learned. They have to do lessons learned individual, lessons learned as teams. And what is important and very interesting is that in these lessons learned, they always reflect the fact that they were not aware of the problem that we have been working on. So evaluation, which is a problem, and I see Rati smiling at this point, because for us professors, it's always important. Community engagement is good. We want our students to go out there, but how do you evaluate what happened? So we finally have to give students grades. We have to evaluate the success, of course. The success depends on the satisfaction of the client as well. But in the evaluation, I'm using variety of checks. I'm checking the web page design, structure and content, the research papers, because they had to write research papers on children with incarcerated parents. The team dynamics, how successful they were as a team, were they submitting on time, was the project manager doing a good job, lessons learned, all of this is evaluated. Sometime at the end of the semester I tell myself, am I stupid to require so much from the students? But without all of these checklists, I will not be able to get a good idea of the work that was done. I will not be able objectively to evaluate the work. Okay, finally, we have the demonstration, celebration. Best project is selected. Best features from other projects are also used. Now, we have situation in which it is the end of the semester. The students get their grades and they say bye-bye. So they go to other courses. And we still need to implement. That's why you are working at the moment on this project, because I couldn't implement finally the student that I have chosen to implement the project, Adam. We even got a grant for him and we kind of paid him, but he wasn't successful in implementing. So Hannah had to start again. However, on our international project with the international coalition, we were very successful. We had a wonderful student who implemented. He put all the best designs from the different websites into a live website, and he even presented at the conference. Actually, celebration, demonstration, presenting at conferences. What is most important, however, as a result of all this, for this talk, I would say, is that the civic awareness of the students had changed. Our students at Central, and you mentioned just now, you don't consider yourself to be born with silver spoons in your mouth, because you are building your life slowly, you had to go through different obstacles. You are working 1 or 2 jobs or even 3 jobs sometime, and it doesn't take you 4 years to graduate, but it takes you 6 years if you are successful. However, when you compare yourself to these children, when you compare yourself to homeless, when you compare yourself to these people that somehow something happened, they went to jail, they could be wrong, they were wrong, I mean, but now they are humans, so suddenly our students understand that you are not the misfortunate ones. There are much worse problems in the society. Another thing that the students understand is that it is good, it feels good, and Matt just said about this, it feels good to be helpful to the community. It is good to do something and see that it is really appreciated. So, I think that I was lucky to meet Hannah years ago and to start working on not only on the children with incarcerated parents, but on all these socially engaged, community engaged problems. 3 things I would say are very important for me as a result of not only working together and not only already 6-7 years working on different projects, but also trying theoretically to understand more about community engagement, is that university support and infrastructure is very important. If we don't have good university support, you guys, you have the opportunity to do internships. If the university is not providing money for the internships, it won't be possible, so we can't get involved. Carefully selecting community partners is very important, because you may have the best intentions. If your community partners are not interested in cooperating with you and providing final results, it is not good. And finally, for me, was very important to have a structured approach, systematic approach to community engagement, because when you apply structured, systematic approach, the things are much more successful.